90% of the time, I have no idea what I'm talking about.
No one knows what it means, but it's provocative.
It's not. It's
Gets the people going.
You are now listening to Diagnonsense
Then we would just be idiots saying nonsense.
with Kurt Honak
Damn it.
and Isaac Smolden.
I am also here. Yeah. Get excited. We've been waiting on this for a long time.
We have, yeah.
So let's do it. Thank you for tuning in to Diagnonsense. I'm Isaac Smolden. I'm joined by Kurt Honak. Kurt.
Hey, it's been a minute.
It's been a minute. We're both busy dudes. You are, I can't remember, were you full-time case manager just at residential the last time that we talked?
Yeah.
Okay.
So that's
we've done at least one.
Yeah.
Since then.
It's new territory for me though. Yeah.
Right.
So it's been busy.
We got 7 folks over there.
Yeah. And then finishing up my associates with UAA, which, that's been a lot of math homework. So
A lot of late night chocolate sessions.
which is okay. I don't despise math. I'm more fascinated by the sociology stuff. So that's where my brain is at usually.
There's not a lot of math in sociology.
Well, there's
Not a lot of
studies, but it's
crossover.
not exactly engineering,
It's more like statistics.
Yeah, right.
Yeah. Statistics. Do you have a communications degree and don't want to do advanced algebra? Statistics. It's what's on the menu. Maybe that's my personal experience talking. But yeah, resident. I mean, speaking of mental behavioral health topics, residential treatment going great.
Yeah, I think so. I think that, residential gives people an opportunity to, what I really like about residential is I think it gives people an opportunity to kind of deprogram if they have anything like they've learned, like, cause you learn a lot of survival behaviors and you can pick those up. We even talk about those, even if you're not like full blown addicted or like you have any mental health issues in our society. It's easy to pick up behaviors that are not, conducive to your health. And I think the cool thing about residential is you get a chance to kind of deprogram and really examine and kind of, it's almost like an elimination diet, right? Cause you remove the stimulus and then you kind of find out, okay, how does this affect me? Does this change my mood? Is this something I should be doing every day? How does this benefit my life? Kind of a thing.
Yeah. Yeah. That's the whole reason why you walk through that residential program is, the reasons you just described, but that's why it is the length that it is as well. And I think that the huge benefit of our residential is that you're not just spinning your tires, that you're getting that job training, the education completion, the other life skills. And a lot of residential programs, you get the life skills, but the job training and education completion specifically, I think make that program really unique, as well as the age range that we're serving. And so I feel like our first batch of graduates here, it'll be like a month now. Maybe a little bit more, but it's very soon, surprisingly soon, because I feel like we just started. They're going to really hit the ground running and still have access to all those other services that we provide. So speaking of deprogramming, segue. Let's see, it's been probably about the 5-minute mark, so our superiors have made sure that we were doing our job and now turned it off. So let's talk about Bioshock.
Yes.
Because we've been waiting so long to talk about this, and it's because I was being lazy and not playing video games. I guess I was being lazy because my video game time during the hockey season is so limited. And then Star Wars Outlaws released and took over all my video game time. I had video game homework, but instead I played the new Star Wars thing that I wanted to do. So then I finally got back to Bioshock and went through it. And the other thing too, this is not the main topic, but the other thing too is this is a scary game, Kurt. This is a scary game. And Ozzy gave it to me in wintertime and it was dark outside.
It's a horror game.
And what if the big brothers are gonna come through my windows or creepy little girls are gonna be standing on my porch?
It is.
But this is one that you played this like forever ago when it first came out, right?
Yes, yeah. It was a huge influence on some of my thinking.
Many other people have, I'm sure, dissected it better than we can. This is not a new
It's
new
not new.
topic.
Yeah.
But we've talked about Atlas Shrugged and kind of that Ayn Rand world and some of the in that discussion we talked about some of the what are some of the problems when you go all the way down this line of thinking, and Bioshock takes it and is like, here's all the way to the other side. This is what happens when you live in Ayn Rand's dystopian future. And it's probably not, is reality Bioshock or Atlas Shrugged? No, it's probably somewhere in the middle of those things. But this is a nice companion piece to that, and that you see the consequences of the bioengineering and true capitalistic, pure capitalistic society with no regulations or overreach. Then you have creepy little girls running around, and your crazy people trying to stab you in the streets because they've lost their minds due to biochemical engineering. Okay, so take me through this, Kurt, because you are much more. I am a recent Bioshock player. You are much more familiar in the background than I.
Yeah, well, so I started playing this right around the time of it was crazy. Like, so Fallout and Bioshock, right, came out right around the time of the opioid epidemic that we were really feeling that. I mean, I was personally, and I was just on and off all these psych meds, and I remember playing Bioshock, and I was like, there's something about this game that's really interesting, and Ayn Rand, because like I liked Ayn Rand, right? I'd seen YouTube videos of her speeches and things like that, and I was like, that makes a lot of sense. Objectivism, altruism has led to a lot of suffering in the world. The altruism for the state or for this greater good or for that. And so I really liked Ayn Rand's line of thinking. But Bioshock, I like that Bioshock kind of takes some of those elements and cranks them to 11 and is kind of a critique on like, it's like pull yourself up by your bootstraps. But what if you're born into a meritocracy? Because I think Ayn Rand's really focused on the meritocracy of society, and like Bioshock kind of states this question of like, what if you're born? Because the main character's under this, spoilers, but probably not.
Spoilers for a game that came out
forever ago.
2010, 2009.
But your character's under this social engineering already, so it kind of poses some interesting questions with. Which I thought were interesting, right? Because I was in and out of psychiatry that whole time, and mostly in, but poses some interesting question about social conditioning, where it's like, how does meritocracy work if you're born into a social fabric that's warped to the point of like, it's basically like, it's a zero sum game where it's like, it's not sustainable. And I think that's the question. It's a biopunk story, I think, at its core, and it kind of 1 and 2, I think, especially where you're under the ocean and stuff, and Rapture. And I think there's probably some innuendos in there, and some things that are like
the city is literally called Rapture,
right? It's really,
and there's this special population that is taken away.
Right.
Maybe there's some religious critiques in there too that I'm not going to try to.
We won't go into that. But however, the biopunk elements, I really thought it took objectivism and said, how does that function in because it's really a reflection on nature and kind of this Darwinian element of how most people think of Darwin, which is survival of the fittest. They think of it that way. I know there's different elements and people talk about it differently, but how most people think of Darwinian ideas of this, it flips it on like, well, what if, the meritocracy built into the meritocracy is because Ayn Rand's idea, I think, for self-actualization for ideal human condition, and like, what if you're born into a social fabric that's so warped that in order to survive it, you have to start removing parts of yourself that make you human. Right. And I think that's kind of the story of Bioshock.
Very cyberpunk, very
transhumanist.
Fallout. Right. Yeah. 2007, by the way, is when Bioshock came out. I had no idea it was that. This game looks great for 2007.
Yeah.
So I knew nothing about this game going in. So you get in this plane crash, and there's this lighthouse in the middle of the ocean, kind of weird. And you walk down and big gilded sculptures and very, 1920s swing energy. And you're on the tube down, and this is Rapture, and look how great we are. And we just all, support each other and have this great city away from all of the regulations and bad governments. And this is a paradise. And, look at the city, and there's whales going by. And then the lift breaks down, and the crackhead, not to cast any shame, but the crackheads that are all whizzed out on Adam are dropping from the ceiling, trying to knife me in the darkness. And I was scared, Kurt. This isn't paradise. This is scary land. And so as you're working your way through the game, you can see the people have they have bioengineered themselves so much, and their society has broken down because of the power imbalance. And so there's some critiques on the power imbalance of a fascist government. There's some critiques on or how the government has become a more fascist government based off of the ideals that are set about.
Right.
And then there's also critiques on these people have so it's Adam is the name of the substance.
Yeah.
But you inject it and it grants you, like, you can use fire,
alter your DNA,
shoot lightning, alter your DNA to have basically X-Men powers. But you're losing your humanity by improving your humanity. You're actually losing your humanity, and most of the people that you're fighting have gone crazy.
Well, you can become a splicer, kind of like in Fallout, like becoming a ghoul or something, like where you basically you don't have very many human traits left.
Right, and the main villains are all part of this society that are transforming the population into these elevated humans that actually are subhumans, and that they've lost empathy and they're crazy.
Yeah,
they're really
lost
crazy.
Compassion and like,
so they must be eliminated by my steampunk-esque weaponry, which is what the gameplay boils down to. But then, so you're playing through, and it's a survival horror game. But you come to find out that there is also the programming. There is a brainwashing and component to this as well. So take me, again, spoilers for this game that came out in 2007. But take me through the finale of this game, the climactic journey for our protagonist, Jack.
Okay, well, so he's under the control of Andrew Ryan, which is what is that, like a what do they call it, anagram of Ayn Rand.
Yes.
right. Yeah.
Right.
And there's videos that have done this way better, but you end up finding out he's kind of the Manchurian candidate for the opposition, and ends up killing Andrew Ryan, which he gets killed, but he's kind of like, he's like fully embracing the ecstasy of the death of, because he'd rather let the whole thing go sink than be perverted by the people who aren't following the objectivist ideals as closely as him.
If only they could have not
He's
gone
like, I'll do the ultimate of not letting you have any power by killing myself. And so, he does the typical, like
kind of an asshole.
martyr, he does the typical like martyr.
Kind of, very stuck up way to go. Like, not only,
instead of just like, taking, responsibility for, what it's become.
Like the opposite of extreme ownership. Yes. He's so not owning his part in it that he is literally the architect of his own destruction.
Built Rapture and it failed. Good.
Exactly. So, and then, so yes. And then Jack has to go and chase down, Atlas, who come to find out that Atlas,
he's like the antagonist,
is actually, you thought that he was good, but he was not.
Yes.
He was Fontaine.
Well, and there's some critique in there, I think, and like I said, I think people have broken this down better, but there's some critique of like whether or not, because he's kind of an anti-hero, I think, in some sense. So there's a critique of like, well, if it was bound to fail and he pulled the trigger, is he at fault for the reasons that it failed? And so there's like this anti-hero element. Yeah, right. Yeah. Paradise Lost again.
Dang it. I'm gonna have to read Paradise Lost.
Can't get away
eventually.
from that.
Yeah. Yeah. So because he's responsible, but if the whole system was broken in the first place, morally, is he at fault? You know, right. Jack decides that yes, he is at fault because he kills him. And then there's last most important question: which ending is the correct ending here, Kurt? Because as you've been going around, I know that there's the canonical ending, but as you've been going around, there's all the creepy little girls that have been like biologically hacked and turned into these sources of the atom. And there's the big brothers, which are the big diving suit looking dudes that I struggled to kill way more than I should. I don't understand why. I think I'm just bad.
I think there's a whole puzzle with the mechanics that you have to kind of get a dance with, and
I just like the water thing. I like doing the matching water game.
Because
having to kill
the puzzle.
That was more entertaining to me than anyway. So depending on how many of the tiny children that you have killed or saved, because you can save the tiny children, right. Or you can also harvest them for their special power and turn yourself into more of a transhumanist zealot. And so if you've saved them, then you adopt them and live happily ever after.
Save the children.
And if you've harvested them for the resource, then basically the game tells you how much of a bad person you are. And I apparently harvested too many of them.
Yeah, the splicers get into the surface, and it's just bad.
Yeah. I guess I'm the bad person for killing children. So they were bad children. Okay, they were evil children. They tried to kill me. So which of these endings is your preferred ending?
Well, of course the ending where he's like all the children grow up and like bury him, and the good ending. I think the game poses an interesting question though, is like in a survival economy, which is what Bioshock is, do most people have like an it poses an interesting question. It's like, are most people left to their own devices good, like going to pick the good ending in reality in a survival economy? And that's a good question.
I had to survive, Kurt. I mean, your first. Okay, do you remember your first playthrough? Were you Mr. Goody Two Shoes, or did you do what you had to survive?
Well, that's a good question, and I think I did I don't know. The harvesting was just a little. I was like, I don't know, but I think that made me work harder.
Boo!
It made me work harder.
Okay, I'm the bad person.
I think I could have had a bad ending because I just had no idea what was, because there's so much information in Bioshock when you first play through.
It's hard to keep track of.
I might have had a bad ending. I think I remember having a bad ending once that I didn't intend to have, and that might have been my first playthrough.
So maybe is this the litmus test to determine if you're secretly a good person or a bad person?
Well, I think it is they kind of couch it that way, but I think when you're first playing through, it does a good job of setting you up with a situation that makes you be in a survival economy, because you don't know where the game ends, and you don't know how bad it's going to punish you for doing good things.
Right.
And so I think I might have actually went that route but I remember getting the good ending and just being like, relieved.
Yes. Like, this is better than everyone else.
This is such a relief that the children are all grown up and they're like burying me. And I was like, it made me really go into the Eric Erickson phase of like guilt and despair of like, did I do the right things with my life? You know what I mean? I don't know. It probably didn't help that I was in a withdrawal, I think, when I finished it the second. I mean, that adds to the bad feelings. But I think it asks great questions and not necessarily a fully reflection on capitalism, because any society, I think, could have this biopunk element of like, well, if you have a meritocracy, even if it's not centered around the economy and monetary value, that could be bad no matter how your society is structured. And I think that's just something that's good to be aware of as we get to vote in our country, right? And make these decisions about medical interventions and what a human being should look like or how they should feel. So
that's all the time we have for today. I'm gonna just cut Kurt off there before you know, I get
into the weeds.
I get into trouble on the internet.
Yeah.
Which antidepressant does Adam stand for, Kurt?
I don't know.
Sorry, that's all the time we have for her. Get it out of here. Haul him away. No,
He's going
play
to-
Bioshock, or watch a video on Bioshock.
Yeah,
too,
you
if
can
you
watch a
don't,
video.
if you don't have the time. I'm glad I
There's some
played through
interesting
it.
breakdowns, and some people have a really different perspective on it than
You can-
others, which makes it like a piece of art to me. It's like depends on how you interpret it.
Yeah, it's one of those pieces of media that I think shows that video games as a medium can be like movies, like
they
books,
can be very
like television.
Very
There is a redeeming quality to games like this as subject pieces, which is nice. It's nice when I stopped playing. Well, not that I've played Call of Duty in forever, but sometimes you need the mindless for fun game with your friends, but
the
sometimes
Helldivers, the Super Earth.
Sometimes you need a Last of Us or a Bioshock mixed in there to make you think about things while you're playing video games. Very nice.